Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our little Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 series. I'm joined here by my friend Valter, aka Innocentius, on YouTube, and we're both creating a little bit of a dual perspective version of Hearts of Iron 4 for those that are maybe new to it, aka me, waving at the camera. Valter, how's it going over there?
Hey Cal, going great. I'm just showing a little bit of the map. What is our alliance, the Comintern, against the Allies in the Axis?
Very. I had to read up on the Comintern this past week to get some info on it after we were clicking around with it. But looking here in our last little segment, we set up our national focus as the Great Purge. We plugged in our factories. We got those guys rocking and rolling. And then what else here? We plugged in our research. So I think our next step where we left off was to do our line up our military factories.
Yeah, because we have a lot of military factories doing absolutely nothing, and as a true productive comrade, I can tell you that's not allowed.
No, that's lazy. So we need to get them in gear. Military. Let's see. We got infantry equipment. That's something we could focus on. I do love tanks if we can afford some tanks. And what else? We got towed artillery. I don't know, there's some cool stuff here.
There is some definitely cool stuff, and one thing that everybody always needs when they're fighting is a gun. And I'm not talking about a big artillery gun, no, literally like a rifle where they can shoot at the enemy with. So infantry equipment is really important for everybody always in this game.
Yeah, the one with the gun shoots, with the one with the ammo picks up the gun when the other one dies, and then he shoots. So let's try and not do that. Let's not do the Battle of Stalingrad again.
And just to make things a little bit easier, I would suggest we skip all the air stuff because it's not completely necessary for us right now. So I'm gonna remove some of the fighters and strategic bombers that we have in our factories right now, which gives us
clicking the X, right?
Yeah, and which gives us even more factories to go around with.
Great.
So we currently have 36 military factories, and only 16 are producing. So we should definitely do that.
Got it.
I would suggest a lot of infantry equipment. Literally a lot.
Let's max that guy out.
So what you can see is that the infantry equipment has a certain amount per day of output, but it also has a production efficiency bar on top of it. And remember, one of those technologies that we chose, the production efficiency, gives us plus 10% extra production efficiency cap, which will mean that currently our factories are producing at 50% efficiency, and if the caps goes higher, they can literally spew out more infantry equipment with the same amount of factories because they became more efficient at producing them.
That sounds like a great thing to have in our country. We definitely need that.
So yeah, that's why it's such good tech to get started upon early.
So then we also have about 12 more factories that need to be put to work.
Yeah, definitely. And it comes about things like, how do you want to shape your division? Like, without game mechanics, how would you want to see our glorious Red Army go to the battlefield?
Well, our light tanks are a bit hit and miss. I mean, historically, depending on the area we go to invade next, that might be very efficient to have some tanks. But I'm not really familiar with how the support equipment mechanic works in this game. If that's maybe wiser to start pumping more into that, or do a split between the two?
So if you go to the research tab, I can show you a little bit more.
Please.
So click on one of the current researches, so you could switch it, but we're gonna show you a little bit what the support equipment does. And what you want to go to is the support company, which is the second button on the list. The little man with a plus sign.
Now.
So in that screen you see different support companies that can be added to your division. In total you can have a maximum of 5, but there are also other things like support artillery, also vie for those positions.
Ooh.
And everything does something special, and I will go from them from the top. You have the engineers, which makes your unit better digged in, which means when it's get attacked and it had some time to prepare, it will have a higher defense. Also, it will become stronger in crossing rivers, attacking towns, and attacking forts.
Oh.
Then
That's cool.
beyond that, you have the recon company. What a recon company does is give you a reconnaissance bonus. It's more about knowing how your army which you're fighting against is currently fielding their troops. When they are fighting, every general picks a certain tactic card, more or less. And if you have a higher reconnaissance, then you have a higher chance to pick a card that counters your opponent's tactic and nullifying it completely. So having a high reconnaissance is quite valuable. Also, it gives you small bonuses for movement in various difficult terrain types of situations.
Interesting.
Then you have the military police. After you've conquered or occupied a bit of territory, it will resist your occupation. And if you have units stationed there, they will suppress that resistance. And with military police, they become more efficient at it.
Oh, I like that. We need a lot of military police in our country.
Then you have a maintenance company. And a maintenance company does a thing that's really simple. It makes sure your things don't break down as fast as they did before. When you're suffering attrition, you're not actually suffering attrition as in like random guys drop dead. No, the attrition is your equipment starts to break down. Guns can break down, tanks can break down, everything can break down. And the more advanced it is, the more chance it has to break down actually. And what the maintenance company does, it adds a little modifier that makes it less likely to break down. So it can be quite useful if you're in high attrition situations and can't put out enough production yourself to replace all the broken down equipment.
That makes sense.
And then you have the field hospital, and it tries to keep your people alive. And this has two added benefits. One, you don't go through your manpower as quickly as you normally would. And two, you don't have to replace those experienced guys with new recruits. That means your companies stay more experienced and therefore fight better.
I see.
And then you have the logistic companies, which reduces the amount of supply a unit uses when it's walking through a province, which means that you can field more guys in the same place with the same supply. So it's really useful if you plan to assault the enemy with a lot of men, or you go to places like the desert where there is not so much supply.
Got it.
And the last one is probably the most underwhelming of them all. It's a signal company. What it does is every battle has a certain amount of guys that can fight on it. The front line is only that much wide. And the signal company increases the chance that if there is a spot available for one of your guys to reinforce, it will give them a higher chance to reinforce. So for example, the baseline is I believe 5%. Getting a radio technology ups it to 7%. And if you have a signal company, it will go up to 8% per day, for example, or per hour. I'm not sure how exactly that works. So it's quite underwhelming compared to the other ones, I would say.
Yeah, seems like it.
So that is support. That's all the support there is in the game. And one of the added benefits of support equipment is it will never get out of date. Eventually we will invent better guns, better tanks, better artillery, better everything, except better support equipment. That will always stay the same. So a lot of people say start producing support equipment as much as you can from the beginning pretty much, because it will never become obsolete. It will always be useful.
And I want to second that, because I think that the light tank, the light tank in general was underwhelming historically. So instead of over-investing in something we know is not amazing, maybe we do just go with support equipment from the start.
I must kind of correct you there, because the T-60
Please.
is a really good light tank for the Russians.
But it is a T-26 right now, right?
Yeah, the current one is not that great, but there is some greatness in its future. But unfortunately, the current one, no, it's not that good.
So we'll avoid him, because until we get the T-60. T-60s, yes, agreed, good, but T-26s.
So I would suggest add some extra support equipment on our battle plans.
Okay, how many do we want to put in here? We got 12 left, I believe, so we could do you want to add 10? If we had 10 to this, we'd have 2 left over. Do we want to max it out at 12?
Yeah, we can. Let's do it.
Let's do that.
And
okay, so
we have 2 left.
failed at math. Apparently.
That's okay. And that's fine. I would suggest adding that to artillery, because
Yeah, let's do that.
artillery is really good at fighting against infantry units. And most countries' main force will still consist of infantry units, and therefore artillery is actually quite useful.
And then we can always like schedule ahead, is that right? Like because we know we're going to have some military factories come online. If we wanted to, we could tell it to produce more artillery or more support equipment, is that right?
Yes, and I would suggest you do that, but not for artillery or support, but for guns. Just plain old infantry equipment, because we're gonna need a lot of it. And when I say a lot, I really mean like we could use 1,000,000 guns and still be short on them.
We go up to build infantry. We click on that button right under military factories, if memory serves. And then there we go. There's our guns. So also there's the create variant down the line. We can do that, but let's plop down this gun here.
Just to be like a little bit of a buzzkill in that, we can't make variants of guns, unfortunately. Only from tanks and planes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess that makes sense, but I saw a button.
Yeah, you can rename the gun. That's the extent of customizing it.
Wow.
But now indeed you see one of the grayed out factories, which means when the first factory gets online, it will be immediately assigned to the infantry equipment. Saves us a little bit of time from hassling with it all the time.
And then I should probably click all 15 in here, right? Just so when they come online, we know. And then do we need to put them up priority-wise in this list? Does that make a difference?
No, the priority list is only for resources being allocated to it. You can see that the infantry equipment takes 30 steel at the moment. Yeah. But you can also see that our motorized has a red 0 for its rubber. And that means we have 0 rubber currently in our country. We need 3 for that. So it will have now a small production penalty because we don't have the rubber. We can still produce them, but not as efficiently as we did before. Now, say we had 2 lines of motorized, and we only had 1 rubber. The one that's higher in the priority list would get the rubber first, and then if there's left over, it will go to the second one in the priority list. So that's the only reason why the priority list actually matters.
Okay. So I don't really need to move our infantry equipment up the list at all. It's fine where it is.
You don't need it, but it can be useful for viewing purposes, because the screen can get a little bit cluttered. And once again, with shift click, it goes immediately to the complete top.
Oh, shift. Well, I guess it does say that, huh? Well, I moved it manually. I'll probably do a lot of this game manually as I learn. I like your shortcuts, though, Roger. Very, very helpful.
But we need to also assign 1 more dry dock, or dockyard. Because we have 5 naval dockyards in production, we have 6 available to us. And you can see in the same screen a little bit lower that we currently have some ships in production. There's a certain amount of them in production as well. And once they are done, those dockyards become free again.
I see. Should we build submarines or destroyers?
Well, we are currently building destroyers and submarines, but there's a thing that's lacking that I find really important, and it's important for naval invasions and trade, so peaceful and warlike, and that is convoys. You can see in the top of the screen we have 39 convoys available to us at the moment. We have 50 for ourselves, but 11 are already being used for trade. So we definitely need more of those convoys.
I see here, yeah. So we can click over there. We can click on that button, the under Naval Dockyards.
Yeah, build ships.
And it brings it up. So I can just click on this convoy here, plops them down here, and you can see allocated their factory to it. I see.
Immediately that factory gets assigned. What we can do, for example, is this little trick, like this. So what happens now is once the destroyers are done producing, those 2 dockyards are immediately assigned to the submarines below them. And once those 11 submarines are also produced, it goes to the submarines below them for another 10. And then onward to the next one. And eventually they can all come down in the convoys to produce all the convoys that we need.
Very nice.
Convoys are really important in the game, especially because you use it to trade resources for, and you are quite often short on resources. Right now, the rubber is not that important because it's for motorized. We don't really need motorized that much. It's still producing quite fast. But eventually we're gonna run out of oil and steel, and those are really important resources that we do need to trade for.
Yeah, we don't want to run out of that. That's no good.
But that's it, Kyle. I think we have set up our country for victory.
Excellent. Who
Are
knew
you
it was
ready
so
to
easy?
unpause the game?
Yes, let's do it.
Alright, here we go.
Greatness unfold.
So time is ticking at the moment, and we start to think,
Yeah.
where do we want to go expand?
Oh.
And we get an event. Did you get the event as well?
No, I think that one's just for you.
Right, so I will read it to you then. The fifth column. The persecution of enemies of the people, those who would reverse or subvert the revolution, has been ongoing policy since the party came to power. The internal power struggle that followed has shifted in our focus, and purging the party ranks themselves has given more emphasis since Trotsky's exile. Stalin has made himself an icon, but at a cost of making many real enemies and innumerable imaginary ones. Having seen the worst of international power struggles, the General Secretary is prone to act on the slightest suspicion. Being purged from the party means imprisonment or death. Dark times lie ahead for those who show disloyalty, or just a bit too much loyalty to seem credible.
Ooh.
And that's part of our purge policy. But we need to expand. I feel like Mother Russia needs to forcefully expand the revolution to other countries. Because otherwise we might be purged as Trotskyites as well.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Not happening.
So, which country do you feel like we should invade? Do you want to go for Poland, Romania, Iran, Turkey, Finland, the Baltic states?
So many great choices. I want to pick them all.
Oh, and you will pick them all eventually, but we have to start somewhere first.
Start small. Okay. What about Romania? I mean, let's see. So Romania's just sitting down there. They're probably not expecting us to come over there today. Although, looking at Turkey, they don't really have much on their border. And we already do.
It takes some time before we can declare war, unfortunately, because even though we might disagree, we still have to justify a war goal. And to do that, we need about 50 political power. And it will last 250 days before we have done fabricating it. So they have some time to prepare their defenses, unfortunately. But we, as a cool, strategically minded generals, of course, are also looking at what resources do we gain from invading the enemy. So if you press the button F7, you go to your resource map mode. Ooh. And you can see all the places where all the resources are. You can see that Iran and Iraq have, for example, oil. Romania has oil, a little bit of steel, and a little bit of aluminium. And you can also see that Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania only have 3 pieces of steel. And that's not that much. So Turkey would be a great place for gaining some chromium, which is used for advanced engines. So if you want some heavy tanks that are advanced, or some advanced battleships and stuff like that, you need chromium. Oil is used for anything that has an engine, from trucks, tanks, planes, boats, and everything. And, well, fortunately we don't have a good source of steel or anything like that close towards us. So where do you feel we should expand?
I mean, if we go down to Turkey, it seems like we would also gain some possible ports down there as well, some naval bases.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that could be like a twofold victory for us. We gain a new launching pad to the west. So we not only gain those ports and the naval bases, but we also then have some more land to invade Iran. Well, and Iraq too, I guess.
Yeah.
We could march down there a little bit sooner, maybe?
Yeah, makes sense. So you want to go after Turkey?
Let's do it.
All right. So we'll soon start planning for Turkey. And I think we should start with getting some army ready for the invasion plans. Now, Turkey on our border is very mountainous. If you zoom in a little bit, you can literally see the mountains popping up.
Oh, Yes.
So that's a really difficult place to invade from, unfortunately. But I'm gonna make a special group that's gonna be great at it.
Mountaineers.
Yes.
Something like that.
Let's first group everybody that we have in one army. Almost everybody, at least in this hemisphere. Let's group them together in one army.
I'm clicking all the F buttons here, and I'm seeing lots of different overlays. How useful.
Oh yeah, the F buttons are super useful for overlays. So I'm gonna select all the mountaineers that we currently have and make them into one specialized group. Let's see how many we can find.
I'm very excited for them. They're gonna bring our country so much greatness. I just can't get over it. So and if they don't, heavy penalties.
Oh yeah, let's do the gulags with them. So let's see.
The gulag.
We should have 13 mountaineers in a complete army. If you see underneath the time, there is like an army, an anchor, and a plane. If you click on the army button, it will show you a breakdown of our current army that we have in total.
How nice.
So I need to find 3 more mountaineers that are hiding somewhere. Are you trying to be not part of our glorious army?
I see there's some at the bottom that look unassigned. I think I found one. If they're the if that's... No, that's a tank. Oh, I see. Okay, here's the... Okay, so the icon. Can you sort by type? Oh, I clicked a guy. I don't know what I did.
I don't think you can select by type, unfortunately. No, not really. But I think I have found all 13. Yeah, we have 13. I have 13 in one army. It's the purple army.
Oh, mine let me sort by type if I click it, but I don't think, to your point, it's not going to say exactly what you're looking for, but that was
where did you click to sort by type?
So if I click on army, bring up that panel, and then you know how it shows you little icons on the far left there, so you can see it's a tank, mountain, or infantry.
Oh, like that on type, yeah.
Yeah, if you click on type, it does sort it by them. I don't know if that really helps you.
It actually does. That's pretty nifty. I didn't know that. Thank you.
Newbie tips.
See, you learn something new every day.
That's true.
And we have 2 type of generals you can assign to an army. One of them... before that, I'm going to justify... Hey, Kyle, do you want to justify on Turkey?
Yes, I would love to, but I forget how.
Alright, so right-click on Turkey. That brings you to the diplomacy with Turkey.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I forget to right-click. I always left-click, but yes. Okay, so... Oh, we got a lovely picture of their leader here, who's going to be thrown out and thrown into a gulag, hopefully.
Mustafa Kemal Atatürk.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you can click on Justify War Goal.
Okay. And I'm going to click Conquer.
Yes, because that's what we're going to do. And you click one of the states.
I'm probably gonna go with Trabzon.
Yeah, that is.
There's a reason not to.
There is no reason to make any choice. You can go for anyone actually. The states and everything like that with the justified war goal is not currently completely fleshed out. They're still going to change that because there's no reason in the game to actually go for more than one, even though you can. And there's no reason for which state you should go or anything like that.
Oh. Well, we're going to do Trabzon because it's right there. So it's going to cost us 50 of our political power out of our current 64, generating, 1 per day. And then it's going to take us 250 days. So let's do this. Send.
Good. And I, in the meantime, got an event about the trials of anti-Soviet Trotskyist Center. Despite Leon Trotsky being forced into exile, Joseph Stalin fears that he has secret supporters within the party. A series of rapid arrests and brutal interrogations have yielded confessions and testimonies conveniently pointing to some of Stalin's rivals. However, the more questions are asked and deeper the secret police delves into letters and journals, the more people are implicated, if indirectly. Party members are beginning to believe that Stalin's absolute power and the death of his wife have isolated him to a point where he perceives anyone as a threat. But isn't that exactly what a traitor would say? So we can get rid of a couple of different guys. We can also say that we don't want to kill anybody, or that things are paranoia, which will lead to civil war in the future. But
the Soviets say that paranoia is vigilance.
That is true. But I would suggest we are truly communist. We don't want to make ourselves more communist, because what if you end up in the other end? Like, go so over the top you become a Democrat instead or something like that.
Oh, no.
So let's kill the guy, Nikita Khrushchev, which gives us communism support. Khrushchev dabbled with Trotskyism in the past. He must go.
Funny that we're killing him. So who takes our place after we die?
Good question. Wait, are you saying we're not immortal?
Well...
Are you an enemy of Stalin yourself?
Maybe we don't arrest the doctors. Or maybe we do. I don't know. The doctor's plot. Okay.
Right, but I was talking about the different generals that you can assign. And
yes.
That will be the end of the episode as well. Because we're going over time already. We're having too much fun, Kyle.
We are. Okay, so we'll call it and we'll come back with some more great stuff here in a little bit.
Yeah, let's call it now, and then next episode I will go over the leaders and everything like that.
Perfect. Until next time. So everyone, tune in. We're going to have links in our videos below to each other, since we're doing dual screen setup here. So again, until the next one, look out for our new feed here coming shortly. Bye-bye.
Bye.